Hi folks, I hope that you guys are doing pretty well. So today is Thursday, the 16th of January 2025. And in today's video, I'm going to decipher for you Psalm 10, okay? Now in Psalm 10, there's actually 18 verses, and it packs a real punch, folks. There's a lot in here that needs to be deciphered and also to be commented upon, if you like. It's actually a very good psalm, and it actually follows on from Psalm 9. Already decipher Psalm 9 as well. Now, Psalm 10 is essentially a tribulation period and millennial kingdom psalm as well, as you shall see in a moment. Okay, now, as always, I do have a program, okay, and this program is actually quite long. We're going to be going verse by verse, but it's actually composed of, I believe, 6 pages. So we got 6 pages that we're going to be going through. Okay, now I'm going to give you the breakdown of the verses. Okay, now verses 1 to 11 are for the tribulation period. Okay, and verses 12 to 18 are for the millennial kingdom, if you like, upon Jesus' second coming. Okay, so Psalm 10 verses 1 to 18. Okay, it's actually a tribulation and millennial kingdom psalm. Okay, so now we're going to be going verse by verse. Okay, so on verse 1 it reads, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord?" In other words, it's saying here, uh, why is it that you, God, O Lord, are standing far away and are practically not doing anything, Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? In other words, why is it, God, that you are hiding yourself in times of trouble? Now, this trouble, of course, is a tribulation period, okay? So God is standing far away. He's in heaven, and Jesus is going to be judging the world, with the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, the 7 vials, and the 3 woes. That's why God is hiding, okay, in heaven, in times of trouble during the tribulation period, okay. So, pardon me, for verse 1 then on my commentary, I got, "Why standeth thou afar off?" Of course, this is God, okay. "Why hidest you yourself in times of trouble?" In other words, the tribulation period trouble, okay. So God is standing afar off to allow for Daniel's 70th week to take place, okay. In other words, a tribulation period, okay. This verse 1 prophecy then links to Daniel 9:24, Daniel's 70th week, if you like, Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7, the times of Jacob's trouble, if you like, Isaiah 28:15, very similar, in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, the Jewish people that will be in the tribulation period, so to speak, okay? So this is why God is standing afar off. He's hiding himself in times of trouble because it's going to be the tribulation period, okay? Pardon me, and so verse 1 links up to all these prophecies that I just mentioned, okay? Now, verse 2, "The wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined." Okay, so of course, those left behind, the wicked, will be very prideful. Okay, they're going to persecute the poor. Why is it that the wicked are going to persecute the poor? Because the poor people are usually believers in Jesus. They put their faith in Jesus because they don't have any other hope. The only hope that they have is Jesus. And so the poor are going to be persecuted because they're going to be believers in Jesus. It's their only hope. Okay, and don't forget that with this persecution, think about the 4 horses of the apocalypse. The white horse, the Antichrist. Okay, the red horse uh, symbolizes war, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Then the black horse is to do with famine. So the poor people will suffer further persecution as a result of that symbolic black horse, dies wages for a meal practically. And then the pale green horse, death and Hades follow him, okay? Then it says here, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. So basically then, verses 2 and 4 are about the behavior of the wicked, okay? They persecute the poor on verse 2, okay? They boast about their wicked desires and bless others like-minded, okay? So the wicked are like-minded. Verse 3, the wicked are prideful and will not seek after God. On verse 4, okay? Now, I just told you that think about the four horses of the apocalypse, the white, the red, the black, and the green, okay? So this is why it's going to be a lot of wickedness, and also, there's going to be the four horses of the apocalypse, and symbolizing and signifying everything that is going to happen under these four horses, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, according to the red horse, the Antichrist is the white horse, okay? So think about the wickedness that is going to happen during the tribulation period, okay? So, so verses 2 to 4 really are about the wicked, about how they persecute the poor on verse 3. They boast, okay, they are covetous on verse 4. The wicked are very prideful, they are not going to be seeking after God, and so on. God is not in their minds, okay? Now, verse 5 here has a double application. The fact that it's got capital H and then IS, his ways are always grievous. It has a double application. He's talking about the Antichrist here, okay? So it has a double application because it's also a plurality as well. In other words, that the ways of the Antichrist are always grievous unto God, okay? Um, and also it has a double application because all those people during the tribulation period, a lot of them are all are also going to be grievous as well. Don't forget that the mark of the beast is going to be introduced in the second half of the tribulation period. Okay, and then there is that judgments are far above out of his sight. So in other words, Jesus is going to be dishing out his judgment from heaven. Like I said before, the seven seals, the seven trumpets, the seven vials, and the three woes. Okay. As for all his enemies, he puffed at them. Okay, so basically, Jesus doesn't think much of his enemies. He puffs at them. Like he doesn't think much of them. But this verse 5 does have a double application, and as you will see here on my notes. Okay, so I circle it because the first application is for the Antichrist, but also the plurality of how people are going to be. Generally speaking, the ways of the wicked are grievous, but also the the ways of the Antichrist are always going to be grievous as well. Okay, the wicked are extremely sinful. The judgments are far above out of his sight, meaning that the judgment that Jesus is going to pour out during the tribulation period come from above. Okay, so let me get on to the next page here, on page 2 of my commentary. Okay, now on verse 5 also, like I just said earlier, think of the seven seals, the seven trumpets, the seven bowls, plus the three woes that Jesus is going to dish out from heaven. Okay, as for all his enemies, he puffed at them. Okay, so God is not really bothered by all these wicked people because we know the end. He's going to judge him, and if you read Zechariah chapter 14 verse 12, all these evil and wicked people, they will melt away, and the false prophet and the Antichrist will be thrown alive into the lake of fire and brimstone, and the devil is going to be taken down to the abyss for 1,000 years. Okay, it does have a double application, this verse 5, because it's speaking about the Antichrist. Okay, the fact that it's got that capital H here. Okay, his ways are always grievous. Okay, so The ways of the Antichrist are always grievous, but generally speaking, just to finish up, I don't want to repeat myself too much. It's also talking about the ways of the wicked. It's called a double application, okay? Because if you follow the context, from verses 2 to 4, it talks about how the wicked are, they persecute the poor, the wicked boast, the wicked are prideful. They don't seek after God, but then on verse 5, his ways are also grievous. So it has a double application in context of how the wicked are generally speaking, but also how the Antichrist is, okay? Now in verse 6, he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. So this is also wickedness from the evil people. They are very prideful. They are kind to stand in their position in their heart. Okay, they're saying, "I shall never be in adversity." They are boasting. So for verse 6 then of my commentary, where it says he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. The wicked are being defined. Okay, they're being defined with their pride and wickedness. Okay, now verse 7. Uh, verse 7 also has a similar application to verse 5. The fact that it's called capital H here, it symbolizes not only the wicked people, generally speaking, in the tribulation period, but also the Antichrist as well. Okay, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud, and his tongue is mischief and vanity. So that's really what the Antichrist is all about. His mouth is full of cursing, deceit, fraud, and under his tongue is mischief and vanity. But in context, it's also following through how the wicked are. They persecute the poor, the wicked both, they are covetous, they are prideful, they don't seek after God. Okay, so verse 7 is also plural. It's also not only referring to the Antichrist in context, it has a double application just like verse 5, but it's also referring to the wicked, generally speaking. Okay, so for verse 7 of my commentary, then I put a circle around his, just as I did on verse 5 on my program here. Okay, meaning that it has a double application. Okay, I just told you that it has a double application for the Antichrist and also for the wicked people. Okay, so yeah, the wicked will be cursing, deceitful, and fraudulent. Their ways are mischief and vanity times two, meaning that it has a double application speaking about the Antichrist and also the wicked people, generally speaking. Okay, now then, let me just go now into verse 8. He sitteth in the lurking places or the villages, in the secret places. Does he murder the innocent? His eyes are privately set against the poor. Have you noticed how the wicked, uh, um, the henchmen of the Antichrist are always against the poor? You know why? Because the poor people, they don't have a lot of money, and so their only hope is Jesus. Okay, and so this is why the Antichrist, okay, is sending his henchmen, if you like, lurking in places, in villages, or in secret places, okay, to murder the innocent, okay. The innocent here are going to be also the saints that are believing in Jesus during the tribulation period or the tribulation period saints, okay. The fact that he's saying innocent and I put brackets here is because these are the believers of Jesus, okay. So he's seated in the lurking places. The fact that he's saying it's saying like the Antichrist, but the Antichrist is you get to think that he's going to be busy, trying to lead the world. So the he here is more like his henchmen or the people that he's sending out, so to speak. Is symbolic of that. It's a figure of speech saying he's seated in the lurking places or the villages, meaning that the Antichrist is going to send his henchmen or people to lurking in places or the villages in the secret places, okay? And they're going to be murdering the innocent, rather, if you like, meaning Christians, okay? The Christians are going to be overcome according to Revelation 13:7 in the second half of the tribulation period. But also during the first half of the tribulation period, the henchmen of the Antichrist are going to murder the innocent or the Christians. Okay? His eyes are probably set against the poor. Again, the innocent, which are the Christians, and also the poor, are being targeted because they are the ones that are putting their faith and hope in Jesus. That's what he wants to get them. So on verse 8, then I put, he's seated in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places does he murder the innocent. The Antichrist will send out his evil men to hunt down and murder those that are innocent or the followers of Jesus during the tribulation period, especially in the second half of the tribulation period, according to Revelation 13:7, when the saints are overcome. Okay, so I can quickly show you that. Revelation 13:7. All right, let's quickly go back to the last book here in the Bible, Revelation 13. Okay, so head over to Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. Okay, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Okay, so the Antichrist is going to overcome the saints according to Revelation 13:7. Okay, so that's why it says here, on verse 8 that he's going to send his henchmen to murder the innocent, the tribulation saints. He's going to be against the poor because they have nothing. Okay, they normally put their faith on Jesus, right? That's just common sense. Okay, then let's continue on to verse 9. He lieth in white secretly as a lion. I'm pretty sure that we all heard that in his den. Okay, I'll show you my commentary in a moment. He lieth in white to catch the poor. See, he's always trying to get the poor, the poor and the innocent. You know why? Because, like I said earlier, the poor always put their faith in Jesus, okay? He does catch the poor when he throws him into his net. See, he wants to get the poor into his net because he wants to take away the hope in Jesus so that they can all pretty much go to hell and take the mark of the beast and so on. So, on my commentary then here for verse 9, he lieth in white, searching as a lion in his den to catch the poor and to draw them into his net. I'm just paraphrasing here, okay? The Antichrist and his henchmen want to gather the poor so that they don't think about following Jesus and lose any hope that they have about being delivered by Jesus, when he comes back for the millennial kingdom. Think of 1 Peter 5:8. We all know this. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a raging lion, okay? Like a raging lion, like it says here. He lieth in white secretly as a lion in his den, okay? You can link this with 1 Peter 5:8, okay? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he might devour. This prophecy by Peter is linked to all dispensations, okay? Now, verse 10, he crouches and humbleth himself, that the poor might fall by his strong ones, okay? So, the Antichrist and his henchmen, okay, they humble themselves. Why do they do this? They want to deceive people. They're pretending to be humble when they are not. They are like roaring lions, just wanting to devour, the innocent and the poor, okay? That the poor might fall by his strong ones, meaning the strong ones are the henchmen, okay? So for verse 10, I put here, He crouches and humbles himself that the poor might fall by his strong ones. So the Antichrist henchman is going to deceive the poor and send their his strong henchmen to capture them by deception. Okay, so the poor are going to be deceived. Okay, by the strong henchmen that the Antichrist is going to send. Okay, and why is this? This is so that he can take away the hope of the people by not believing in Jesus. So he's very astute, if you like. Then let's go into verse 11. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hid his face. He will never see it. So, for this verse then, okay, it's a prophecy that is more applicable to the second half of the tribulation period when the Antichrist introduces the mark of the beast, okay? Because people are saying this he is generally speaking is a plural of people. People have said in the in their hearts, God has forgotten, okay? He's hiding his face. He will never see it because the evil and wicked people are going to be doing so much evil during the tribulation period that they are saying God has forgotten. He has hidden his face. He will never see it. So it's a prophecy that's more applicable to the second half of the tribulation period when the Antichrist introduces the mark of the beast and everyone will worship the devil and the saints will be overcome according to Revelation 13:7, like I showed you earlier. Okay, so let us move then to verse 12 now. Verse 11 then ends the last verse of the tribulation period. Now verses 12 to 18 are for the second coming of Jesus to perform all his judgments. Because what it says here, arise, O Lord, O God, lift up thy hand, forget not the humble. See? So here he's saying, arise, God, judge all this wickedness, lift up thy hand, forget not the humble. So for verse 12 then, okay, this prophecy links up to all the judgment that Jesus is going to perform upon his second coming. Okay, so think of Revelation 14, verses 15 to 20 about Jesus operating the winepress. Think of Revelation 19:15, again the winepress. Joel chapter 3, verse 2, the judgment in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Matthew 25, verses 32 and 33, the judgment of the ships on the goats. Zechariah 14:12, how people are going to melt. Isaiah chapter 60 and 18, etc., etc. Now Isaiah has a whole heap of end-time Bible prophecies that are for the Millennial Kingdom. A great deal of many of them are the judgments that Jesus is going to be performing when he comes back for the Millennial Kingdom. Okay, so verses 12 to 18 are all essentially about the judgments of Jesus' second coming. As in verse 12, okay, it says, arise, O God. Okay, so verse 12, arise, O God. Okay, then on verse 13, the wicked will no longer contempt with God. Okay, so on verse 13, wherefore does the wicked contempt God? Okay, so this is kind of like the old language, if you like. On verse 14, the poor and the fatherless will put their faith on Jesus to deliver them. Okay, so on verse 14, thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite to require it with thy hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless. Okay, so the poor people are going to be putting their faith on Jesus, generally speaking, and also the fatherless as well. Okay, now on verse 15, then it's actually quite an interesting one. It says here, break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil men. This is the Antichrist and the wicked people in general. Have a look at these folks. Break thou the arm of the wicked. Up to here where it says wicked, it's actually about all the judgments that Jesus is going to be performing upon his second coming. I just told you about Joel chapter 3 verse 2. Think of the judgment in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Zechariah 14:12, how people are going to be melting away. Revelation 19, I told you about the wine press that Jesus is going to be operating, or Revelation 19:20, Uh, and sorry, not Revelation 19:20, Revelation, um, where is it? Revelation 19:15, sorry. Okay. And then, so this is, generally speaking, this is a judgment that Jesus is going to perform against the wicked, and there are many, but the evil man, look how the evil man is written here. Look at the presentation of how it's written here. This evil man is actually the Antichrist. So what he's saying here is break the arm of the wicked, in other words, judge all the wicked, plus the evil man, in other words, the Antichrist. Seek out his wickedness to thou find none. Okay? So basically, seek out his wickedness till thou find none is basically saying that Jesus is going to be performing his judgments on all the wicked, okay? The wicked plus the evil man, which is the Antichrist, okay? So, for verse 15 then, break the arm of the wicked and the evil man, just the wicked, is generally speaking, is about judging the wicked and the Antichrist. Especially if you read Revelation 19:20, the beast and the false prophet are thrown or cast alive into a lake of burning with fire with brimstone, okay? And the devil is cast into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years, as in Revelation 20, verse 3, okay? Now, where it says here, seek out the wicked till there is none, I'm just paraphrasing here. Second Zechariah 14:12, plus all the other judgment that Jesus is going to perform upon his second coming, Basically in Zechariah 14:12, all the wicked are going to melt away. Okay. So then on verse 16, the Lord is king forever and ever. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen upon the arrival of Jesus' second coming. He's going to be king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land. Okay. So of course, don't forget, when Jesus comes back for the Millennium Kingdom, he's going to be performing his judgment in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay, his land is of course Israel. Okay, now the battle is not in Armageddon. Okay, it's actually in Jerusalem. If you read Zechariah, okay, a lot of people get confused with that. It's not, the battle is not in Armageddon; it's in Jerusalem, because the judgment of the sheep and the goats, and the judgment in the valley of Jehoshaphat, that's going to be in Jerusalem. Okay. And the best prophecy that can link this verse 16 here, where it reads, the Lord is king forever and ever, is actually in Isaiah 9:7. Okay. So the Lord is king forever and ever. Think of the prophecy in Isaiah 9:7. Here it reads, of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. Okay. That's why the Lord is king forever and ever, because there shall be no end to his government, okay? Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, okay? The heathen are perished out of his hand, okay? Again, think of all the judgments that Jesus is going to perform upon his second coming arrival, okay? Now, verses 17 and 19 are actually quite interesting. It reads here, Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare the heart, thou wilt cause thine ear to hear. I will give you my commentary in a moment. To judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the men of the earth might no more oppress. Okay, now let me give you my commentary on this, because I think that these prophecies here are actually quite interesting, and I highlighted a few things here. Lord, thou hast heard the desire, I highlighted it in red, of the humble. Now, the desire of the humble are gonna be all those people that are gonna be making it through into the millennial kingdom, okay? But especially the Jewish people, because don't forget that God has a covenant with the Jewish people. And if you read Zechariah 13:9, the Jewish people are going to be calling out on the Lord Jesus, okay? So we'll get that into a moment. And then it is here, thou will prepare the heart, thou will cause thine ear to hear, thine ear to hear. That's linked to Zechariah 13:9, you know. Yeah, the Jewish people are going to be calling out the Lord. More on that in a moment. And then verse 18 it reads, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed. Well, the Jewish people are many of them are going to be taken to many nations, and they are going to be fatherless and oppressed, so that the men of the earth might no more oppress. Of course, they are not going to oppress no more when Jesus comes back to perform his judgment. Okay, so for my commentary here for verses 17 and 18, though these prophecies apply to all those that will make it through into the millennial kingdom, then in my view they are more relevant to the Jewish people. As on verse 17 leads up to Zechariah 13:9, okay, they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. Notice how it says here on verse 17, okay, thou will cause thine ear to hear. I want you to remember this on verse 17, okay, thou will cause thine ear to hear. Now look what it says on Zechariah 13:9, okay, they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. So Jesus is going to hear them, okay? Just like it says on verse 17 here, thou will cause thine ear to hear, okay? See how it's linked to Zechariah 13:9, okay? So, yeah, these prophecies on verses 17 and 18 are more relevant to the Jewish people, as verse 17 links up to Zechariah 13:9, they shall call on my name and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God, okay? Now also, don't forget that the Jewish people will be oppressed by the men of the earth, okay? According to Luke 21, verses 20 to 24. But by specifically on Luke 21:24, where the Jewish people shall be led away captive into all nations, okay? So let me show you the prophecy in Luke 21:24, okay? Just quickly here, we are here now. Head over to Luke 21, verse 24, okay? It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, okay? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, okay? So many Jewish people will be led captive into all nations. And so this is why I think that verses 17 and 18, even though it applies generally speaking to all those that make it into the millennial kingdom, I think that these two verses, 17 and 18, are more relevant to the Jewish people, because the Jewish people, like I just showed you on Luke 21:24, they're the ones that are going to be oppressed, they're going to be led away captive into all nations, okay? And in Revelation 21:14, it reads, the woman flies into the wilderness, meaning Israel, okay? And Israel is going to be protected supernaturally by God, okay? That's why, in my view, verse 17 and 18, although it applies to everybody, okay, in that the Lord, will hear the desires of the humble, okay, and will prepare their hearts, okay, and He will hear them. Don't forget that Jesus, God, has a covenant with the Jewish people, and as He comes back, on verse 12 here, arise, O Lord, to perform all His judgments against the wicked. He's also coming back to be the King of Israel, like He says on verse 16 here, and so He also needs to side the Jewish people who are being persecuted all over the world. And so Jesus needs to hear his people according to Zechariah 13:9, okay? And that he needs to charge the fatherless and the oppressed, okay? That the men of the earth might no more oppress. So in other words, Jesus needs to have compassion and protect the fatherless and the oppressed, generally speaking, all those that make it into the millennial kingdom, but also, the Jewish people who many will be fatherless and oppressed because I just show you in Luke 21:24 how many will be taken to many other nations, and that Jesus has a covenant with the Jewish people, okay, that the men of the earth might no more oppress. In other words, they are no longer going to be oppressing the Jewish people, and also those that make it through into the millennial kingdom. So that is it, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.